Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So also for a normal distribution, one can show that. So you can see that, and you can also calculate the percentiles. So you can see that approximately 68% of the data of the values fall within one standard deviation of the mean. So supposedly this is the curve shows a normal random variable whose mean is at 0 and the variance is sigma square. So we'll see in the later slides that it is always possible to convert a normal random variable with a certain mu and sigma to another random variable with a mu 0 and sigma square 1. Okay, it's always possible to convert, and we'll see that. Okay, so this is again a normal distribution with mu 0 and sigma square is equal to 1. So you will see that approximately 68% of the data fall within one standard deviation of the mean. 95% of the data fall within two standard deviations of the mean, and 99.7% of the data fall within three standard deviations of the mean. And this is very important because the area under a normal probability density function beyond 3 sigma from the mean is quite small. So it's very small because within plus minus 3 sigma it contains around 99.7% of the data, and this fact is convenient for quick rough sketches of a normal PDF, and then once you have the sketches as per your random experiment or as per your problem, then it becomes easy to calculate the probabilities. Okay. Unfortunately, there is no closed form expression for the integral of a normal probability density function, but one can easily calculate it numerically or from the Z table data. We'll see how it is done. Okay. So, but it is important to see that, so within plus minus 3 sigma from the mean, you can see that the 99.7% of the data is there inside plus minus 3 sigma. So it is a very important characteristics of the normal random variable. Then there is another elegant property, that if x is normal with mean, mu and variance sigma square, then if you make a transformation such that y is equal to alpha times x plus beta, where both alpha and beta are constants, then y is also a normal distribution with mean alpha mu plus beta and variance alpha square times sigma square. Okay, so if you make a linear transformation like this, then the transformed random variable is also a normal random variable. Let's try to see that. So we can always calculate moment generating function for such a transformed random variable and see whether it has the moment generating function of a normal random variable or not. So let's calculate expectation value of e to the power 2 alpha x plus beta. So then this would be e to the power t beta. So you can just take it out of the expectation value, and then expectation value of e to the power alpha t x. And e to the power 2 beta, and this will give you an alpha is a constant, tx, x is a normal random variable which is given. So you can easily write it is e to the power 2 beta exponential mu alpha t plus sigma square alpha square t square by 2. So this is the typical moment generating function of a normal random variable, and with a small manipulation you can see that the last expression is the moment generating function of a normal random variable with mean alpha times mu plus beta and variance alpha square times sigma square. So this was easy to see. So that means if you make a linear transformation such that y is equal to alpha x plus beta, where alpha beta are constants, then the new transformed random variable is also a normal random variable. Then let's see another property, which is the sum of independent normal random variables is also a normal random variable with mean mu and sigma square. Now here your mean is sum over the individual means of the normal random variables which are considered inside the sum, and the variance is sum over the variances of the normal random variables which are considered in the sum. Remember, these are independent normal random variables, and therefore the total variance can be, you will see that it can be written as sum over individual variances. So let's see, let us take xi where your I is equal to 1 to n are independent normal random variables with mean mu I and variance sigma I square. So all of these are independent normal random variables. So you can define the moment generating function for sum over these xi's, because we have to see whether the sum of independent normal random variables is a normal random variable or not. Okay, we have to see what distribution the sum of independent normal random variables follow. So the easy way to calculate the moment generating function of this sum and to see whether the resultant moment generating function is the moment generating function of a normal random variable or not. So you can easily do that. So it is expectation value of e to the power t times sum over these normal random variables, and which you can write it as expectation value of e to the power t x1 times e to the power t x2 times e to the power t xn. Right. So then you can see that since each of them are normal random variable, for each xi's you can write the expression for the moment generating function to arrive at result 19, and you can see that this is also the moment generating function of a normal random variable, but mu is your sum over the individual mu i's and sigma square is the sum over individual sigma I square. This is a very important result, and we will use it quite often when we discuss about parameter estimation and hypothesis testing later in this course. Okay, so why I am discussing all these properties, that we will use them at some point of time to estimate the probabilities, to estimate the parameters, and so forth. Now let us define what is called a standard normal random variable. So we saw that in the previous slides, that when we do a linear transformation like y is equal to alpha x plus beta, you create a new random variable. Okay. So normal random variable with mu is equal to 0 and sigma square is equal to 1 is called a standard normal random variable and is denoted by capital Z. It is conventionally denoted by capital Z. So it has a mu is equal to 0 and variance is 1. Okay. So if you just put the values, okay, so your PDF for a standard normal variable reduces to 1 by root pi, sigma is 1, sigma square is 1, so sigma is 1, and therefore you don't have the sigma term in the factor, normalization factor, then e to the power minus z square by 2. And the cumulative distribution function of a standard normal random variable is denoted as phi x. So it's the conventional symbols which are used, and this is P. So as per definition of CDF, it is probability of z less or equal to x, and we can write this in terms of this integral. Okay. It's not very easy to compute this integral. So normally people use the z tables, which gives values for the values of z concerned, values of this integral. And normally the practice is that once you have any normal random variable, you just convert it into a standard normal variable, and it is possible to do that with a linear transformation, which we'll see in a minute. And once you convert into a standard normal random variable, so it will have a typical standard normal distribution with mu is equal to 0 and variance is equal to 1, and then you can easily compute all the probabilities as required by your. So from this expression we can easily see that as x tends to infinity, phi x, which is the cumulative distribution function, it is 1, which is expected because it is a CDF, and as x tends to minus infinity, phi x is 0. Okay, this is quite trivial, and phi 0 is equal to half because the total area under the probability function is 1. So you can easily see that at phi at let's say at mu is equal to 0 is half, and then phi minus x, since by virtue of the symmetry of the distribution, phi at minus x is equal to 1 minus phi x. Okay, so these are the simple properties which can easily be seen from the distribution function, from the mathematical formulation of the distribution function. So how do we do that? How do we do this standardization? So we can obtain any normal random variable by shifting and scaling a standard normal variable. So if you have a standard normal variable, you can obtain any other normal random variable. Suppose I have a normal random variable z, that means its mu is 0 and sigma square 1. So I can define any other normal random variable x, which is sigma times z plus mu. I can always do this sort of transformation and I can obtain a normal random variable x with mean mu and variance sigma square. So if we do such a transformation, you can also calculate expectation value of the normal random variable, which is sigma times expectation value of z, which you know what it is. It is 0 plus mu, so the expectation value comes out to be mu, which is the mean, and variance comes out to be sigma square variance z, which, and you know the variance of a z random variable or your standard normal random variable is 1. So variance of x is sigma square. So this is another easy way to see or to calculate the mean and variance of a normal random variable. So now just reverse it, like if, so we know that if z is a standard normal random variable, then x is equal to sigma times z plus mu. If you make this transformation, then x is a normal random variable with mu and variance sigma square. This can be done. Now just reverse this, that if x is a normal random variable with mean mu and variance sigma square, the random variable defined by this transformation z is equal to x minus mu by sigma is a standard normal random variable. And this is important because the random variable z represents the distance of x from its mean in terms of standard deviations, and it is the key step to calculate a probability for an arbitrary normal random variable. So you can have arbitrary normal random variables, you can always standardize them, you can always transform them into a standard normal variable, and then you can calculate the probabilities. So it enables us to write all probability statements about x. See, x is your typical normal random variable with parameter mu and sigma square. So once you transform it to its correspond to a standard normal random variable, so it is helpful because it enables us to write all probability statements about x in terms of probabilities for z. Okay, and then calculating probabilities for z is very easy. Either you can use numerical techniques, you can write just a simple macro. There are a lot of statistical packages available. There is a standard z table available. So then calculating probabilities become very easy. It's not possible to have tables and everything for each and every normal random variable, but you have a standard z table, standard table for a standard normal variable. So what you do, you convert all the whatever normal random variable you have, you just make the simple transformation z is equal to x minus mu by sigma to get a standard normal variable and do all your computations. Okay. So suppose then fxx, let's see how the cumulative distribution looks. It is px less or equal to x, that follows from the definition of CDF, and then in place of s you can write sigma z plus mu because that is the transformation. Then you can write pz is less than x minus mu by sigma, which is nothing but your phi at x minus mu by sigma, right? So for any value a less than b, let's see. So you can write probability of a less than x less than b, where x is your normal random variable with parameter mu and sigma square. Now let's see how we convert into a standard normal random variable and how then it becomes easy to calculate the probability. So you make the transformation. We know that we can just do the transformation x minus mu by sigma. So you have to do the same operations for E and B. Now what is your x minus mu by sigma? It is your standard normal variable which is denoted by z. So you land at equation number 24, which says that probability of a minus mu by sigma less than z less than b minus mu by sigma. So you have converted the probability statement of like a less than x less than b is equivalent to probability of estimating a minus mu by sigma less than z less than b minus mu by sigma. Okay. So now from equation number 24 you can see that you can calculate the probability for right hand side, and this will give you the probability what you want to calculate for your random variable x. Now with a little bit of manipulation you can see that it is nothing but phi b minus mu by sigma minus phi a minus mu by sigma. Okay, this is easy to see. And let's see what do these probabilities mean. So I have taken just few cases, but the good way to estimate probabilities for normal random variables to have a simple sketch in your mind. So what you want to do is just do a rough sketch on the paper and then just to define, okay, I have to estimate this probability. So once you have that in mind, just convert into the typical standard normal random variable and just get the probabilities as required by your experiment or by your problem you are doing. So this is a typical shape of the standard normal random variable. You see the mean is at 0 and the variance is 1. So now I want to calculate phi a. That means your z is less than equal to a. So this is all the shaded portion before a. Okay. So from minus infinity to a, the shaded portion, the area under the shaded portion is the probability, right? And similar, if you want to calculate p z greater than a. Okay. So this is actually the shaded portion beyond a. So what we can do that we can just, since we know that the area under the curve is 1, so we can just do 1 minus phi a, which will give you the red shaded portion. Similarly, if you want to calculate the probabilities between 2 points, so then you can easily do by this. And this is something, the expression I just discussed in the previous slide. So this is all about standard normal random variable, and it is widely used in computing probabilities whenever normal random variable is involved, because it is very easy to compute probabilities once you transform your random variable, normal random variable, to standard normal random variable. Okay. Now let's see some example. Maybe in the next lecture we'll do a couple of more examples. Okay. So now if x is a normal random variable with mu minus 5 and sigma square is equal to 4, then find x less than 0. Find the probability of, probability of x less than 0. Find the probability of x lying between minus 7 and minus 3, and find the conditional probability that x is greater than minus 3 provided that x is greater than minus 5. Okay. So this is very simple to see because everything is given in terms of n, so we know that we have to convert into a standard normal variable. So f0 is phi of z. So what is z? 0 minus minus 5, and what is mu is, sorry, the standard deviation is 2, so it is phi 2.5. So you can leave this answer at phi 2.5 and you can see the standard normal variable table, so you can write a simple macro to compute this probabilities. Simply, probability of x lying between minus 7 and minus 3 is, again you transform them into the standard normal random variable. So minus 3 minus mu by sigma is x minus mu by sigma. So you do the same and you get your answers. And similarly for the conditional probability, you can exactly do the same to arrive at these answers. Please do it yourself to see it. And we can again take a very small example. So let the background noise follows a normal distribution with a mean of 0 volt and standard deviation of 0.4 volt in the detection of a digital signal. So whenever you transmit signal, there are background associated, and sometimes they can give you a fake signal. Okay, so you will detect it, but many a times, so it can be a background, can be a noise also, and you treat it as a signal. Okay, so that is the error of detecting a false signal. Okay. So the system assumes that the digital 1 has been transmitted, that is the signal has been transmitted when the voltage exceeds 0.8. So the background noise has a mean of 0 volt, it should be, but certainly it has a dispersion, it has a standard deviation of 0.4 volt which is given. So the system assumes that the digital 1 has been transmitted when the voltage exceeds 0.8. So what is the probability of detecting a digital 1 when none was sent? So even no signal has been transformed, and if we put the condition that when the voltage exceeds 0.8 only, then you consider it to be a signal, what is the probability that you can detect the background as a signal? So that means x denote the random variable which denote the voltage of noise. Okay, so which has a mean 0 and sigma 0.4, then you have to calculate x greater than, you should calculate x greater than 0.8, not 0.9. So it's just a typo. So then x minus 0, so do the transformation, x minus 0 by 0.4, this x minus mu by sigma is greater than 0.8 minus 0 by 0.4, so which is Pz. So now x minus 0 by 0.4 is nothing but your standard normal variable z greater than 2, which is 1 minus probability of z less than 2, which is nothing but your phi 2, and this is this. So there's still a 0.02 chance or 2%, 2.2% of chance that you might detect the noise as a signal. Okay, so please see that for it is x greater than 0.8, not 0.9. Okay, I'll correct that in the slides. So I would like to stop here for our discussion on normal random variables. So this entire lecture we devoted to a single special distribution called normal distribution, and it is important because it is the most important distribution in the field of, let's say, statistics, and you'll see its application when we discuss inferential statistics in subsequent lectures. So I would urge all of you to go through the slides, why you got the form of the distribution, what are the important properties of the distribution, and how do you transform a normal random variable to standard normal variable, and take simple examples from textbooks and calculate the probabilities. Okay, so in the next lecture we will discuss, we'll also discuss some other important random variables which are derived from normal random variables. Okay, so because we'll see their applications in many areas of statistics, so we'll discuss about typically this chi-square distribution, t distribution and all that. Okay, and we'll also do some examples related to normal random variables and some typical examples related to order statistics. So, but now I would like to stop here with the discussion on normal random variable. Please go through the slides carefully, work out the derivations yourself to see that whether the properties, whatever is shown by the curve, is actually there. Try out all those steps. Not all the steps are given, but I would urge all of you to try out all the steps to see for yourself. Thank you very much.